the idea of Teachers Teach Teachers, actually, the idea with TTT Club, I had it for the first time 5 years ago. Can you believe that? And I started a club which was called Teacher Talking Time, because I guess this TTT really impressed me when I was doing my CELTA. And the idea was very simple. It was supposed to be an offline club in Moscow for teachers to talk, because this is something we don't regularly do. We don't speak English much, and you know me, I'm quite a talkative person, so I missed that. I really wanted just to speak English with somebody, and not at a teaching situation. But unfortunately, the teachers didn't show up. Nobody was interested in this idea. No, I mean, many people came, but they were not teachers. The idea was that we would have a club, and every day, every next week, teacher would organize a speaking club for everybody. But my friends who were engineers joined, my friends who were business trainers joined, different kind of friends, just not teachers for some reason. So we renamed it. We saved the TTT thing, and the club was running for about 2 years. We had business sessions and we played games, etc. Then I had to stop for personal reasons, and I was not going to do that again because it took a lot of time and energy. And last year, exactly, last spring, I was sure I wanted to open a school, and my plan was for last year, September, to have an offline school in Moscow, a very tiny one, like a boutique school for beginners and elementary adults. So I was going to teach some English, and I was going to maybe teach some teachers how to work with beginners, because this is the level I really like teaching, beginners elementary. But there was one teacher who joined that previous TTT club, and he really missed that, and he was kind of pushing me like, Anita, we shall do it again, we shall do it again, we need to do it again. And I was really tired of him, I think, saying and reminding me that. And I told him, okay, if you want to do that, please write a post. I'll do a sign up form. Please write a post and I'll do it. Okay, so you'll just we just wanted one offline group for teachers to join in Moscow and meet up regularly, use the Outcomes Advanced book, and just to, you know, speak English and improve our teaching. And he wrote the post, and I wrote one more in a different group. And the first night we had 40 people who signed up, and they were not from Moscow, they were from online, everywhere, and from Russia. And I felt that I can't just abandon these people, yeah, because I promised them something. And I put them all into groups. I spent the whole night trying to arrange all that. And then there were more people, and then I went to London to Lexical Lab for a month, and then to Yaroslavl, and I thought that everybody will just forget about this and they'll start my little school for elementary and beginner students in Moscow. But this didn't happen. So while I was away, there were more people getting into the project. And so, cutting long story short, this June we'll celebrate 1 year of Teachers Teach Teachers. And the idea of the project is, as I already mentioned, that teachers in groups of maximum 10 people, using the Outcomes Advanced next year, starting Outcomes Upper Intermediate 2, will be teaching each other one month. So each month, the teacher, one of the participants of the group, becomes the leading teacher of next month and delivers 4 or 5 lessons depending on the month, because we meet once a month. So that's the general idea of what we do. And but that's not all we have. And this is time for me to start sharing my presentation. Can you see it?
Yes.
Please no. Whose voice is that? Everybody's muted. No, it's okay. So, first, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our principles, because first of all, we're a community, and it's a community and a program. It's something of both. It's a program for teachers run by teachers. So we are here, by we, I mean my team. I'll tell you about my team a little bit later. We are teachers. I guess we know what we want, and we know what you want, because we're the same. And it's kind of maybe a little bit of a selfish program, yeah, because we choose what we want for ourselves, and we can do whatever we want with the program, because we don't belong to any organization. We're all peers. It's Teachers Teach Teachers, but maybe the better, but a longer name would have been Teachers Learning from Each Other, but it's a very hard, I don't know, name to sell. We don't have anybody who will come and teach us because they know the right way. We'll learn what we can from each other. So I know that freelancers, I'm a freelancer, but even teachers who work at some organizations, schools or universities, we don't know what's happening in another person's classroom, but it's so interesting, you know, to have a look, to just to learn what happens behind those closed doors. And this is a space where you can do that, and even if the person who is teaching your group at the moment has not as much experience as you do, but they will be using some interesting techniques or doing something differently or asking a specific type of questions that you can learn and implement in your teaching. We respect each other, so we don't criticize. Yeah, we can give feedback. That's why we have a special webinar on how to give feedback, but we respect each other, and we respect copyright, which is also a very important thing for us. So we use the book we're using doesn't have an e-version, unfortunately, so we're using the paperback books for now. And so we can't share or send you a copy of the book because we don't sell them, and we don't share the PDF versions as well. So it's a safe place to experiment. So as, I mean, you've seen, yeah, you've met already some people who might be joining the project or who might already be part of the project. And anything you do in your classroom, you can always ask for feedback. You can try out something that you learned at the seminar. So if you attended Polina Kordik's webinar today on vocabulary, you can try it out with your real students. But at TTT, when you experiment with the teachers, yeah, the teachers can maybe sometimes give you a more valuable feedback on how the activity really worked for them as students. So it's two roles. We're always switching, teaching as a teacher and as a student. And as it's a community, yeah, the thing that works is that the more you give, the more you actually get. And here I have several stories to share about, like last October, one of our participants, she wanted to have a book club, and she started a book club for our community, and they're reading one book per month. Can you believe it or not? I'm still reading the first one, but I think I'm going to finish it today. So I'm finishing the October book today, and I'll take the November book. And so I'm following them a little bit behind. And she did that. Daria, thank you very much if you're here. Then last week, just one of the participants called me and said, I need, we have TTT morning routine. We have some special exercise lives in our Facebook group. But she said, I know this great Pilates trainer. She's amazing. She speaks English. We must have Pilates at TTT. And I thought, okay, never imagined myself doing Pilates online, but let's try. So we had a trial class, and now we have Pilates. Natalia, thank you very much for organizing that. And Natalia is a member of the project. Yeah, now she gets an extra Pilates class as just part of the routine we have. And one more thing, for example, we also have a methodological SIG, and no, we have a methodological SIG, but we also have a linguistic SIG. And the leader of the SIG, Natalia, she once read Andrew Walkley's blog post on the Lexical Lab website, and she saw that he was mentioning Steven Pinker, quoting Steven Pinker, and we are still luckily here, just one book for now, reading Steven Pinker, and she asked me if we could ask Andrew to join us, and Andrew said yes, so we had Andrew at our meeting. So yeah, if she was silent and she hadn't mentioned anything, it wouldn't have happened, but it happened, yeah, because she organized that group, etc. I hope you're getting the idea. So the program, we have two tracks, the general English track, I'm going to tell you about it, and we have the exams track. I know practically nothing about exams, that's why Natalia is here and she'll tell you more about that. And the general English track we're working with the outcomes advanced for now and starting upper intermediate groups, because you are really asking about the upper intermediate groups as well. TTT program, the general English track, the outcomes track, is designed for 3 years. You might ask, might be wondering why 3 years? Because I calculated that at my space, when I really enjoy teaching with outcomes, it would take 4 years to finish the book like from cover to cover. And I thought like, okay, 4 years is a bit too much, but 3 years, okay, we can manage. So that was the idea behind it. And we have 3 years, and we have 3-year program of webinars following this track as well. Year one, if you're not a part of TTT yet, this will be your year. We have introductory webinars on feedback with Natasha, who is here. We have different webinars about different tools that will help you in your teaching, real teaching and TTT teaching as well, and introductory webinars on the lexical approach. We also have webinars done by TTT participants, because I said we're a community and we really appreciate the input from you. And first year covers first 6 units of Outcomes Advanced. The people who started last year will be year 2 now, and finish it faster and buy more copies here. Okay, now we'll just have more groups and buy more copies. Would that work? Because it's important. I don't know, have you tried to finish it faster? It's not working like that. You have so much great material there, so your fault, we can't do it faster, sorry. And Hugh can't answer me because I muted him, haha. So second year, it will be more on lexical approach, but we're also adding psychology for teachers, because this is something that we're missing, and we'll do psychology for teachers. We're going to learn the psychological side of the learning process to help our students better, but we're also going to focus on us as teachers and speak about stress management, burnout, etc. And year 3 is not planned yet. We'll see when we get there next year. There'll still be webinars by TTT participants, and I guess there will be, because there are questions, yeah, what will happen when we finish Outcomes Advanced? And for now, we're answering that. By that time, hopefully, there will be a next edition of Outcomes, or we might need more training on materials development and develop something we can teach each other with our own materials. So we'll see. 1 month at Teachers Teach Teachers looks like this. We have English. Yeah, we focus on English as we promised. It's you're getting 1 lesson per week with the book, and we're getting 1 speaking club. Speaking of CPD, you're getting 1 webinar and a follow-up on the same topic with the same speaker. So the idea is that you have 2 weeks gap between the webinar and the follow-up, and so you can digest the information and ask your questions at the follow-up in 2 weeks, or you can try something, see how it worked, and then ask the speaker, yeah, to help you with something. And the community of amazing teachers. We have book club and SIG. SIG stand for special interest groups. For now, we have methodological SIG and linguistic SIG. There is a volunteer for the films watching SIG or series, so there can be something else. And Hugh, there's a request for outcomes proficiency, so you know. We go live with Natasha Ladigin and other members of my team like every month to answer your questions. We have the staff room group where you can share or ask any questions. So now we're having Pilates, at least till the end of the coronavirus thing, while we're all stuck at home. We have TT Cafe, parties, and unlimited source of ideas for the books we are using because we're sharing that. And we can get creative, so nobody can stop us. So, TTT exams. Natalia, over to you. Yeah.
Okay. Now the next flashing and talking window will be me. My name is Natalia Ladigina, and I'm a part of this team. And I think I'm the only person, maybe the only person in this team who loves exams.
Sorry.
Whether you like exams or whether you're scared at the very idea of, you know, having to sit an exam, it doesn't matter now. We know a couple of good reasons why our colleagues around the world think about taking exams and actually choose to take exams. Reason number one is that it can really increase their employability prospects at some point of their career. Sometimes it's the only way to prove that you're actually as able to teach in a certain environment as other colleagues from other countries. And I can see some of you nodding your heads now, because I know that you are based in different countries of the world. Yeah. Another reason why a teacher might consider sitting an exam themselves is that we would like to start preparing students for exams, and we would like to see it from the inside, to see the preparation process from the inside. And reason number three is that for many colleagues of mine that I know, having a foreseeable but still achievable and measurable aim, so we're not too far ahead, is the only way they can organize their professional development and the only way they can organize their preparation process. So what we are talking about, starting from year 2 of our fantastic project, and I'm sure you already believe that it's fantastic the way we do believe in, we would like to start two directions of exam preparation groups, namely CAE preparation groups and CPE preparation groups. These groups will be for teachers who are ready to sit the exam. By ready, I mean that you have a desire to do so. So you're not toying with an idea of taking an exam one day in your life, maybe, but you kind of have an aim, you have a goal, and you already know my date is there and then. That's a condition number 1. And number 2 is that your current language level is already high enough and sufficient enough to focus not on expanding your language skills, not on boosting your language command, but rather to focus on exam preparation itself. Therefore, the courses that we are going to offer are quite short compared to the whole general program in TTT. They will be just 6 months in length. And there is an entrance requirement. You will have to do a placement test. Since we believe that we are also accountable, we have to be held accountable for the progress here in our program. We believe that starting from the placement test, we can see where you currently are and suggest what kind of direction, what kind of exam you're ready to take. If you're not ready to take an exam yet in terms of your current language level, we will also advise you on what to do next. The exam program will be kind of boutique-like, as Anita said, your initial intention. We are thinking about smaller groups so that your preparation could be really focused and you could really help each other. So we hope the people who would sign up for exam groups are really, or will be really dedicated to the preparation process, and they will be really ready to invest their knowledge, time, and energy. And what is our role in this process? Well, every month we are going to run one webinar on a certain aspect of exam preparation for you. And every month we are going to do a follow-up meeting, but this follow-up meeting will be a mock test based on a certain area of exam. In this way, we will make sure that you get all the necessary guidance and you get this continuity in your preparation and you get the checkpoints to see where you are in the preparation process. And of course, the teachers of the months. So there will be the same rotation of teachers in exam preparation groups, and teachers of the month will get all sorts of support which other teachers in other tracks get from us. And this is really a lot, trust us. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. So speaking of the teachers of the month support, so the tracks, the exam track and the general English track, we say general English track because actually there is a request for other languages and there might be a French group starting soon. So teachers of all the tracks work in the same way, just the exam track is shorter. Yeah, it's just 6 months instead of 3 years. Teachers of the month, yeah. So when you have to teach the whole group of teachers who are C1, C2, or B2, yeah, it's kind of scary, and you don't know what to do. It's not what you usually do. So we offered the support for the teachers of the month. It's an introductory module on our platform. We have a private chat where we answer your questions, and we also have 4 meetups, 1 meetup per week to help you prepare for the forthcoming lessons. So everything, the platforms we're using for the program is Zoom, where we have webinars, meetups, Pilates sessions, and lessons, and we're paying for this Zoom, so you don't have to pay for it. We have TTT platform and an app where all the recordings, the timetable, all the reminders, and the payment button is also there. We have Facebook for our community where we go live. We have discussions, Q&As, etc. And we will have WhatsApp for group chats. We used to have them on Facebook, but now Facebook banned the feature of inviting somebody to a chat with a link, so we can't do that anymore. That's why we had to add one more platform. So just to give you a brief look, so this is the way our platform looks. All the seminars are here, the recordings are here, the extra materials, presentations, comments, everything's there. And this is the way it looks on your smartphone, so you can use the app and watch all the recordings and materials from the platform. How much? I was thinking of calling this slide a marketing suicide, because we're not doing any marketing promos like register for this and that. like 2 minutes after the webinar and you get a promo price. No, we decided this is a very hard time when everybody needs to know how much everything is. So we have a fixed price and it will be there until things in the world get better. I don't know when it happens. In rubles, it's 2,500 rubles per month, but we pay in installments for 3 months. This saves us a lot of admin work and helps us make our project cheaper, so more affordable for you. English exams track is a little bit more expensive, so you can see the price here and you have the approximate price in dollars. So how to join us, we'll send the link to the chat. So here's the link, by the way. It's a pay for TTT year 1, and you'll see you can choose the group you need, upper, intermediate, advanced, if your level is C1, C2, or exams, and there will be special buttons to proceed with the payment. So a little bit on my team. So these amazing girls you can see on the slide are the people who help me, I don't know, do everything that we're doing. So it's just 4 of us doing everything that we've mentioned. So Елизавета Kostikova, she's not with us here today for family reasons, but she keeps the program running. So if you have any admin questions, you can contact Елизавета. Ekaterina Panfilova is our community manager. She inspires our Facebook group, and she's in charge of TTT mornings, and all the wake-upping thing that happens there. And Natalia Ladygina, you've already met her. She takes care of our teachers of the month because she's a CELTA trainer and she knows how to take care of teachers professionally. That's not it. TTT people are also our moderators and C coordinators. Each group has a moderator, which helps us, pass through the information and, keep the spirits of the group. And these are our moderators and C coordinators. Thank you very much, guys. And our TTT people are also our speakers and guests. And you can see Natalia Ladygina here again, because she actually joined our project. She came here just to do a webinar on feedback last October, and then she stayed. So thank you so much, Natasha. I'll send the link to the chat if you want to book the place. So speaking about the prices and everything, we're going to open just I forgot the amount of groups, 10 to 12 groups. So we're not doing any special prices and promotions, but we're just going to close the groups when they're full. So speaking about our speakers and guests today, enough of me talking, new teachers talking. We have Andrew Walkley and Hugh Dellar. Thank you guys for joining us. So I'll just try and unmute you. As we've mentioned the lexical approach so many times, because this is I can't do 2 things at a time. Unmuting you. So about 2-3 years ago, I went to Andrew's seminar in Novosibirsk and discovered the lexical approach for myself, and it really changed the way I teach, and I really like this, my new way of teaching. That's why we promoted here at TTT. And so we invited Hugh and Andrew here today to tell you a little bit about how they wrote the Outcomes Advanced book, why the lexical approach, and answer your questions. So we're going to do it like this, a little bit Hugh and Andrew talking time. Then we're going to split you in 2 groups for Q&A sessions. So Hugh will be with one group, Andrew will be with another group, and you will ask them anything you want. I think it will be faster than answering all questions in one big group. Over to you guys.
So what would you like us to talk about first, Anita?
I can listen to you forever. So guys, so what do you want first, lexical approach or outcomes? How they wrote? So please tell us in the chat.
It makes more sense to talk about lexical approach first.
Then why did you ask then? It makes more sense.
Just trying to find out what you want.
You go first and I'll talk about outcomes then.
Okay, so I guess in terms of the lexical approach, probably both Andrew and I are of a certain age where we were among the first teachers to really encounter the Michael Lewis book, The Lexical Approach. I think it's important to say that there have been kind of lexically oriented ways of looking at language that existed before Michael Lewis kind of packaged it and popularized it for a more sort of broad audience. But that book came out in 1993 I did my Delta in 1995. I think Andy, year before, year after?
Yeah.
Yeah, before or after?
Year before.
Okay. And yeah, well, and
It's not a competition, Hugh. It's not a competition.
Everything's a competition. And yeah, I guess we were among the first generation to read that book and to think about the implications of it. I guess for both of us, we also read it at a time where we'd had experience, because of where we'd been working and living, of learning foreign languages ourselves. And a lot of what the book talked about, this kind of lexically oriented way of thinking about language, resonated with our own experiences of, you know, learning a foreign language, and also helped to kind of reframe the way that we were thinking about teaching. Because at that point in the 90s, the vast majority of course books were very much kind of PPP oriented. You know, you'd present your piece of grammar, you'd get students to practice it, you'd do some production, you'd maybe teach a lexical set. And I think we both probably got to a stage quite quickly with our own teaching where we found that frustrating and limiting, and wanted to kind of move away from that towards something else. And then I guess what else then happened was we both met various people, we met each other around the time that we were both kind of unpicking all of these thoughts. And, you know, like a lot of things in life, there's a kind of luck element to it where you meet someone at the right time and you click and you start talking about things and things go forward. So I guess in terms of how we came to the lexical approach, it's very much to do with being of the generation that we are and encountering it at that point, and just, you know, having the luck in a way to be there first, you know, among the first, because we're old.
Thank you for this optimistic story, Hugh. That's really what we needed on a Sunday afternoon. Okay.
So taking on from that, the first book that we wrote, well, actually Hugh started on it first with another friend of his, was Innovations. And in a way that book is probably more lexical approach like than Outcomes. And I think there's one thing you have to, you know, just to bear in mind is that Outcomes is not a pure, there we go, it's not a pure lexical approach.
That's what you do after Outcomes Advanced, by the way.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, you could do.
Do you have more copies? Do you have 100 copies?
I'm sure we can get hold of them.
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, one of the things you would see in the differences in innovations and outcomes is that the levels are quite different. At each level, they're kind of a slightly different kind of format. So, for example, the beginner has a very strong kind of chunking type of syllabus. So you introduce a lot of vocabulary, a lot of grammar that you wouldn't normally see at those low levels. And then at the advanced, there is grammar, but it's very much a kind of small bits of grammar. And, you know, to be honest, if I was teaching of my own volition advanced courses, I wouldn't teach any grammar at all. You know, I think it's essentially well, I would teach grammar, but it would come out of the vocabulary that I would be teaching. And I'm sure for those who've been doing some of the lexical approach or lexical teaching seminars that we've had with TTT, you'll know that a lot of it is about giving examples, asking questions, which develop both the vocabulary but also the grammar. So Outcomes was a kind of slightly more mainstream, orthodox type of course coming from Innovations, but not exactly English files, shall we say. So it's strongly, you know, I suppose the big difference with us and perhaps all other courses is that we do start, I think it is true that we start from thinking about the conversations people would want to have. So all the units are constructed around this idea of what do you want to talk about. So this is why we have these kind of very simple topic-based titles for the units, relationships, etc. Politics. Everybody talks about politics. You don't admit it, but you're doing it all the time. And then through that, we try to think about, well, what are the kind of smaller conversations that you have within these topics? So the conversation, the first spread in the conversation in the unit works specifically to a type of conversation. Now, I would say that at advanced, it's quite difficult to organize simple conversations. So it's much more effective at the lowest levels. So beginner, elementary, pre-intermediate, intermediate. And then when you get to upper intermediate, advanced, the conversations, I mean, they work, but there are fewer kind of more structured conversations that you can teach at those levels. But as I say, course books, they like to be all of the same kind of format at all levels. So that's why we get stuck, you could say, with that. The follow-up, the readings and the listenings, when we're writing them, we write all of them. Obviously, we want them to be interesting in and of themselves. But really what we're also trying to do is thinking about, well, can we have a kind of route to a conversation or a little speaking through these different listening and reading texts? So what you'll notice with the reading text, often there might be a little kind of personalized story as an introduction, then it goes into something about something that's happening really in the world, refers to real people, etc. And the idea is that there's a kind of different routes into the talking about the text. So you can talk about it on a personal level, or you can talk about it on a political or, general life level, knowledge of life. And that's basically how they're organised. So yes, what I would say the last thing is, again, we do work a lot with lexical sets. There are issues with teaching a lexical set, but what hopefully you see is when we're teaching the vocabulary that you see, what you will be seeing is always words with other words at the smallest thing. So you'll see collocations, but ideally often you'll be seeing words in a little kind of sentence, sometimes a little exchange. And those sentences and those little exchanges should be reflective of things that you would actually want to say, or people would actually say when they're talking about this topic. And I think, again, that is how our books are different to other material, that we're always thinking about, well, what is the reason you would say this? Why are you trying to say it? And so hopefully what you see is the language is presented in a context which you might make use of when you come to do the actual speaking activity, but also it gives you more to focus on and to help teach the words that we're focusing on, because you've got that support of the context of how they're used. So I think that's about it.
Thank you. So I think we'll have a little bit of democracy here. Would you like to go into breakout rooms and have a Q&A there, or maybe you can just want to ask all questions here? And if anybody wants to ask a question with their voice, you can have your mics on. Oksana, do you want to? I can see.
Just want to say thank you to you and to Andrew and to Hugh for everything, for wonderful books, and it's a pleasure to work with those books. It's just great. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
There's a question about online.
Yeah.
Yes, we are talking about that. I mean, part of the problem we're currently having is that this current lockdown crisis has obviously highlighted the fact that we're a bit slow getting online with what we're doing, but it's also very difficult to find the time that's needed to do the stuff to get us online at the moment, particularly my end, because I've got 2 small kids who are being homeschooled. But yes, we will be doing some online things and they will be released this year. So keep your eyes on the Lexical Lab website.
And I just wanted to say that you are sometimes online at Teachers Teach Teachers. So
that's also true.
Absolutely.
And you can actually share what you think about the project.
The project?
Well, yeah. So your experience, because you've been at TTT for a year. So I mean, you saw us from the very start. Actually,
it's so vulgar to fish for compliments. You know that.
It's okay. It's okay. It's a promo thing.
God, Andy can do that.
Well, it's been a pleasure to work with Anita. And
with the teachers,
Teachers Club. I came there for a Moscow meetup. It was lovely to meet you there, and I've done a couple of online things. It's something actually that I've been thinking of for quite a while as well, just in terms of teacher training is often kind of removed from the kind of really day-to-day working through a course material. And it's often seemed to me that, so, you know, what would be an interesting thing? I mean, I'd thought of it in terms of ourselves teaching a course all the way through, I don't know whether it's beginner or pre-intermediate. And I think the point is you see then how people share, you know, what they're doing in the classroom. As Anita says, you often don't really see it. You see it going through and perhaps learn techniques as you're going along. Where I think Anita's or the teachers is also a kind of step up from that, is that this whole idea of everybody sharing their teaching, so that you're learning, you know, about a wider group of people, I suppose, about how they approach their courses. And I think that's and also supporting each other if you want to, you know, if you want to take a little bit more of a lexical approach line, that you're learning how to do that together and finding how it fits well with yourselves. I mean, any approach is ultimately individual. So, you know, we're trying to kind of, you know, find our way as best we can in the classroom.
Thank you, Andrew. Hugh, are you following the questions to you in the chat? Shall I read them to you?
Yeah, keep an eye on those. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can start answering.
Yeah. So 1 minute. I'm just trying to find this quick video I did recently.
Okay.
Yeah, lexical approach and communicative approach. I don't see them as 2 different things. For me, a lexical approach is really to do with a way of thinking about language, and a communicative approach is to do with particular kinds of classroom activities and methodologies. There's a video I've just put up there, which is basically about this whole issue, but there was a question about, where is it? My school uses a communicative approach. I don't understand why a lexical approach would contradict that, because in order to communicate, students need language, and a lexical approach to language really looks at the grammar and vocabulary in combination that students need in order to communicate the ideas they want to communicate. So you can still do your, you know, class discussions, your role plays, your information gap activities, your balloon debates, all of those kind of classic communicative language teaching activities are actually done better, I think, if you're looking at language in a lexically oriented way, rather than thinking about grammar structures or single words or whatever. So I don't see it as being contradictory in any way. I see it as being mutually complementary. There was also a question about translation. I think translating the meanings of individual words, particularly at kind of pre-intermediate level. Very sensible. If you don't do it, students are going to do it anyway. I think it's also understanding that the meaning is the least problematic issue for students in a way. Students need to be able to get to the meaning of items quickly and directly. And the real issue for students is not what the word means, it's how the words work and how the way they work in English differs from the way they work in their own first language. So I think translation is fine so long as you don't see that as being the end point. That's the beginning point. And what happens after that is students get more exposure to how the words work in English. So, you know, don't beat yourself. For me, if you're a bilingual teacher teaching a monolingual class, you're missing a trick if you're not using translation, particularly with low-level groups. I mean, for me, even when I'm speaking Indonesian at kind of advanced level, I want someone who I can talk English to sometimes, because sometimes I need to say, how do you say blah, blah, blah in Indonesian? Or what does blah, blah, blah in Indonesian mean in English? So, you know, that's a very common way of getting to meanings, I think.
To add to that, for those who are at beginner or elementary level, or perhaps who may have followed, I've been doing a few blog posts about learning Russian. What I found in those lower level classes is actually I just need sometimes to talk in English as a release and relief, because it's very kind of, it's hard. It's very hard. And in terms of the actual learning process, I've just written one about this whole kind of thing about remembering words. And actually, it's quite surprising how often, like if I'm using Quizlet, I can go through, I can recognize the word, recognize the meaning, 2 or 3 times, get it right. And then when it asks me to write the word from the English, I can't remember anything about or I can remember just that it's a long word or it's a short word or it's got these letters in. So there's a kind of element that we need to move beyond whether you're doing it in English to English or Russian to English. You have to move on from that just thinking about the meaning a bit quicker, basically. And that is the kind of smallest part of it. It's actually recalling the words, recalling how they're used. This is the great weight of learning that has to happen.
You have just mentioned that Michael Lewis published his book Lexical Approach in 1993, but in fact this method appeared maybe 2 decades or 3 decades earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my answer to that would be I don't see the lexical approach as a method, and I don't see it as being a set of classroom approaches or activities. I see it as being a way of thinking about language. Yeah. And I think there has been a long history of thinking about language which looks at language from a more kind of, you know, holistic, lexically oriented way. And there are lots of I think part of that has its roots in the Soviet Union. I think part of it has its roots in things like there's a very famous paper by Pauly and Sider from 1980 about native-like choices and the way in which we choose certain items over others, even when they're grammatically possible. So I just think that there's a long continuation of alternative ways of thinking about language. And I think both Andrew and I have recognized that some of that obviously has Soviet roots because of the enthusiasm with which our ideas seem to be consumed in the post-Soviet world. So yes.
It was really lexically oriented way of teaching back in 70s and 80s.
Thank you, Hugh. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us. I think we're going to answer some questions about TTT for now, because there are some doing that. So I think, if you want to ask a question to Hugh and Andrew, you can type your question to the chat now, and I'll email all the questions afterwards. And maybe I don't know, maybe Hugh will do a series of lives about that on his page, because Hugh goes live on Lexical Lab page every Saturday at 12 Moscow
10
time?
a.m. London time, 12 Moscow time.
Yeah, so, and maybe you might answer them
I
there
can talk
if you
about
want.
some of these then. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, and then for now, because I mean, it's Sunday, I think we have to, so if you will be finishing with everything, thank you very much for coming. Everybody, let's do a selfie. So my new favorite thing, an online selfie. So if you're not on camera, please turn your camera on. And if you are, yeah, so make sure that you like what you see, because it will be posted somewhere. Okay, so, and I have 6 screens of people, so you don't know which screen you are, so smile for a very long time, okay? Are you ready? Screenshot 1. Thank you so much for attending. So again, yeah, we'll keep answering some questions about Teachers Teach Teachers. There were some, and speaking of teaching lexically, a friend and a participant of Teachers Teach Teachers, so our colleagues and partners from Onara, asked to say that there will be an online thing on teaching lexically this May. That's all I can say. So follow the news. If when I have a link or anything, I'll just email the same. I mean, I will email you because I have your address. So please check your emails. Okay. So there is more stuff coming on teaching lexically this coronavirus lockdown time. Thank you, Hugh. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everybody. So if you have questions about TGT, please stay. If you don't, see you
Thank
later.
you. And take care, everyone.